Good morning, everyone. This is Mike O'Malley here with a severe weather outlook and discussion recorded on April 19th, 2023, around 11:20 a.m. Eastern Time. We have a lot to go over today, as you notice by all the tabs up here. We have a lot to talk about, including multiple days of severe weather potential. So, jumping into the wide overview of the United States today, looking at the visible satellite imagery, we notice that we have strong moisture return ongoing across portions of the Central Plains. This is going to help to fuel a potentially significant severe weather threat later this afternoon into the overnight hours, then into the day tomorrow across portions of the mid-south here. And then the severe weather threat on day 3 will be focused out across Texas, so we'll look at all that here in a minute. Elsewise, most of the U.S. is quiet. Finally, Florida has decided to quiet down after multiple days of tornadic storms that were a little bit unexpected. So a couple of tornadoes, actually some brief weak tornadoes down here in portions of Brevard County down towards Port St. Lucie. Elsewise, most of the area is quiet. So the severe weather threat for today, this is day 1's convective outlook. This is the 8 a.m. Update here from Storm Prediction Center. Marginal risk for severe storms generally from about Dallas towards Tulsa, Kansas City, and surrounding vicinities up towards near Chicago, Illinois, with a slight risk level 2 out of 5 for portions of Kansas City, Des Moines, Wichita, Oklahoma City, Reno, Salina, and a enhanced risk level 3 out of 5 for places like Omaha to near Lincoln, Nebraska. So pretty significant severe weather threat shaping up for today. Overall, there is a conditional risk for tornadoes, 5% out across the Omaha to Lincoln area, 2% from Oklahoma City, Dallas to near Des Moines, and another 5% just to the west of Oklahoma City down into portions along the Red River out here in places over across southern or really northern Texas. And then also we have that damaging wind threat, 15% out across portions like Wichita through Kansas City, Des Moines. This might even get upgraded to a 30% area later this afternoon. We'll talk about why in a second. And then there's also a 30% chance of seeing some hail within 25 miles of a given point, which is a pretty significant risk. So this is why you've got that enhanced risk up from near Lincoln and Omaha, Nebraska into portions of far northeastern Kansas for the potential of significant hail. So what's the overall synoptic setup? Well, we have an area of low pressure that is expected to kind of just develop here. Not a strong area of low pressure, but it will be moving off towards the north-northeast, and with it there's an associated dry line to the south and a stationary front right over here, which will be acting more so as a warm front later in the day. You've got cooler, drier air to the north right now, but as this warm front, or as this stationary front starts to eject, it will turn into a warm front and cause, as this area of low pressure deepens slightly, it will cause this moisture to be pumped northward. And as it does so, we're going to see, again, strong moisture down to the south where we have those upper 60s dew points. But the further north you get today, this is kind of just a synoptic sounding or synoptic look for right now. But as we progress throughout the rest of today, this moisture quality will improve with northern extent out across the northern part of the risk area. So along with this area of low pressure, though, there's going to be enhanced lift to the north. Again, as this surface low develops and deepens ever so slightly, this will be heading up again to the north-northeast. And along this front here, along and just south to the front, there's going to be enhanced lifting in the atmosphere, basically meaning that the air parcels at the surface will be able to freely rise more efficiently. And with that being said, you're going to have a lot of thunderstorms that end up developing across the northern part of this risk area as we progress through later in the day. And we'll take a look at models here in a second. But you're going to have a lot more thunderstorms up to the north here. And so there's going to be more of a linear convective mode to the north. To the south, you're going to have more potential for discrete supercells. But tornado probability doesn't look all that high. It is very conditional today. As we move into tomorrow, there's also a slight risk for severe storms tomorrow from DFW, Waco, and Austin, Texas through Shreveport and through about Little Rock, Arkansas into portions of southeastern Missouri, with a marginal level 1 out of 5 for places like Memphis, St. Louis, Springfield, Fayetteville, up into portions of near Champaign, Illinois, Chicago, Peoria, and into portions of western Indiana. Tornado threat tomorrow only going to be confined to the southern areas. We're looking at a 2% risk from Dallas, Shreveport, Little Rock, into portions of southeastern Missouri. And then, of course, your damaging wind and large hail potential pretty much identical, coinciding with the slight risk area, again, that 15%. And both areas remain unchanged. So, again, a conditional risk for severe storms tomorrow. The overall synoptic sound out for tomorrow is going to be a little bit different as the area of low pressure begins to finally eject towards the north here. You're going to have a low that is well to the north, but a trailing cold front that is going to be moving ever so slowly, especially on the southern extent here. It's going to be acting more like a dry line later because this front is not going to be moving as much, and it's going to serve the purpose for initiation. However, again, moisture isn't going to be an issue, especially with southern extent. However, there's going to be a lot of forcing along this line as it is going to be delineating an area of pretty dry, cold air to the north of this front, and to the south, you've got all this tropical air. So what this is going to do is it's going to create a lot of forcing along this front because there's going to be a pretty big temperature boundary and definitely a dew point boundary as well. So again, you're going to end up with more of a linear mode for tomorrow's severe weather threat. So now moving into the model forecast, this is the 12Z HRRR, the kind of longer range 48-hour extended here. So again, right now you kind of are dealing with some of these elevated, showers and even some snow back here. But as we progress throughout today, you kind of see these thunderstorms that initially developed. This is actually close to 2 a.m. tomorrow morning. By the time we get any appreciable thunderstorm to develop. Now, keep in mind that the SPC outlooks here, these run through 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, so they are valid until that time. But you notice by, late in the evening, going into the overnight hours, you've got these thunderstorms to develop with northern extent because there's better moisture out here. If we kind of just look at a sounding from this area, you notice that there is definitely better moisture out here. But the atmosphere remains capped, and it's actually, you're dealing with pretty elevated convection at this point, it seems. But generally speaking, thunderstorms will kind of consolidate into a line, and then by tomorrow, you've kind of got 2 rounds of severe storms possible. Again, the HRRR doesn't really develop anything down in this southern mode here. And again, that's why I said the forcing for tomorrow, or really for tonight into tomorrow, you've got very weak forcing down here. There's just not a whole lot of forcing down along this southern mode like you have up here to the north. But as we progress throughout the day tomorrow, you notice that we get storms to erupt along the cold front, and these will be sagging towards the southeast as that front also is moving southeast, and you could get some pretty strong wind gusts here, but the overall tornado threat tomorrow is going to be pretty limited. Not really looking for any discrete cells, but you will have the potential. Again, the biggest threat I think for today is going to be up along really this kind of Iowa, Nebraska area. And then I think tomorrow your greatest threat for damaging winds is going to be here in Louisiana and potentially southeastern Texas. So overall, the threats are pretty conditional, and we have a day 3 risk that is going to be out across this area as well. And we'll talk about that more in tomorrow's video. But overall, the severe threat looks pretty conditional. Not going to have a lot of significant severe weather, and certainly won't be significantly widespread. But I think in the areas that do see some severe weather, especially late tonight, you could be dealing with some pretty massive hail. That's why you've got that 30% area up here for some significant hail. And then also the damaging wind threat shaping up into the day tomorrow across portions of the South and Gulf Coast states. All right. So be safe out there. I hope you have a great rest of your afternoon, evening. Of course, this is Michael O'Malley, and I'll be talking to you some more over the next several days.